Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome into McLean Natatorium here on the campus of Edward Lee McLean High School. We are live from Greenfield, and we are excited to be bringing you the Frontier Athletic Conference Boys Swimming Championships for the year 2023. We'll get things underway here in just a couple short minutes. As we do get things underway, would like to let you know that we will have results posted at the bottom of the screen when they become available. Before we get the boys' meet underway, we let you know a little bit about the results from the ladies' meet last evening. That was also hosted here in McLean Natatorium. In fifth place for the ladies was Miami Trace with 107 points. Fourth on the evening was Washington with 218. The Lady Indian swimmers from Hillsborough finished in third with 243 points. The team from McLean finished in second with 292. And it was the Lady Cavaliers in the pool with the victory and the 2023 Frontier Athletic Conference Championship to their name. They slated 363 points for the team. So congratulations to the Lady Cavs from last night. The boys are about to get underway in just a little bit. We will be letting you know what teams are in what heats. Looks like most events have 2 to 3 heats, nothing more than that, at least according to the meet schedule. We did have a few events last night that had more than 3 heats, so we ran a little bit longer than expected, but we should be a pretty nice tight ship this evening in terms of timing. We are live here on Facebook and YouTube on both of our McLean Athletic Department pages. So if you are interested in viewing either the YouTube or the Facebook app, perhaps maybe you have a device at home that is a little bit better for viewing on one app or the other, feel free to jump on over to those. We will be live on both all evening long. It is just now 6 p.m., and we are about to get things underway with your boys FAC 2022-2023. Our first event on the evening is the boys 200-yard medley relay. There are 2 heats slated. They've not quite stepped up to the blocks yet, but once they do, we will let you know who will be taking part in that first heat. Once again, thanks for joining us here on the McLean Athletic Department Facebook page and YouTube channels, and we look forward to a great night of Frontier Athletic Conference swimming for the men's championship. And before we get things underway, we'll have our national anthem. Well, what better way to get things underway here in the natatorium? We get set for our first event of the night. Once again, 2 heats here in this boys 200-yard medley relay. In the first heat, lane 1 will be Hillsborough's B team. No entry time given on the meet sheet. Lane 2, the B team from McLean, 2:22.72, the entry time there. And in lane number 3, the Panther team from Miami Trace, A team, and their entry time 2:40.30. We will keep an eye on the clock all night. If there are any FAC championship men's meet records that are broken, we will let you know about those when they take place, if that would be the case. So we'll get things going here in just a few short moments with your first heat of the men's 200-yard medley relay. And the official for the evening instructs this first heat to put the first leg into the pool. Once again, lane 1 will be Hillsboro B, lane 2 McLean B, and lane number 3 is the team from Miami Trace, the A team for the Panthers. They're off here in the 200-yard medley relay. And the first heat concludes here in our boys FAC championship. It was the team from McLean, the B team, clocking in at 2:16.14. They win heat number 1. They're followed up by the Miami Trace A team at 2:17.60. And the Hillsboro B team clocks in at 2:25.95. We now move on to heat number 2. In lane number 1, it'll be Hillsboro's A team. In lane number 2, Chillicothe's A. Lane number 3, we have McLean A. And in lane number 4 will be Chillicothe B team. And what a way to get things started here in the FAC Championships. My goodness, it was a close one there in that second heat, but it was the team from McLean edging out the Cavaliers. 156.77 for McLean, 156.92, so just a few hundredths separate the two in the middle lanes. In third place in that heat was Hillsboro's A team, and Chillicothe B clocks in at 2:08.69. We will have the results available as soon as possible here for you for overall team scores. But right now, it is McLean taking the first relay event and the first event on the evening. We're going to move now into our second event of the night. That will be the boys' 200-yard freestyle event. There are 2 heats listed, and the first of 2 heats will include 2 swimmers on the inside lanes. That event about to get underway. The official whistles for that first heat to make their way on to the starting blocks. In lane 2 from Hillsboro is Michael West, and in lane 3 out of Chillicothe is Nehemiah Robinson. And they are off here in this first heat of the boys' 200-yard freestyle. And the first heat of the 200-yard free finishes up. It was lane number 2, Michael West out of Hillsboro, coming in at 2:56.91. He will win the heat. Robinson finishes in second. We now will move into heat 2 of the 200. 3 lanes being utilized. In lane number 1, the swimmer out of Hillsboro, Ryan Howland. Lane number 2, McLean's Zach Scales. And in lane number 3, we have the Cavalier from Chillicothe, Sam Bird. And the second heat of the 200 free has now finished. It'll be the swimmer out of Chillicothe, Sam Bird, with the best time in that heat, 2:28.52. Howland from Hillsboro in the second spot, and then right behind him in third was Scales from McLean. We now move into heat number 3 of this 200 freestyle event. In lane 1 out of Miami Trace, it's Max Trimble. The inside lanes in 2 is Chillicothe's Jake Bird. He is also the meet record holder for this event, so we will see if he's able to best that this season, or at least at this Frontier Athletic Conference Championship. In lane 3, it is Hillsboro's Carson Scott. And in lane 4, it's Max Colburn from McLean. In that last heat of the 200 free, Jake Bird had the top time for Chillicothe at just over 150, so he misses the meet record mark that he had set previously. We're now in heat number 1 of the 200 IM. It's Cameron Burkard from Hillsboro in lane number 1. Carter Liston of Miami Trace is in lane number 2. Toby Lovett from Washington in 3. And Nicholas Alvarez is in lane number 4, the Tiger Shark from McLean. The first heat concludes in the 200 individual medley, and it was lane number 2, Carter Liston of Miami Trace getting the nod there. Alvarez from McLean comes in second in the heat. Third place was Burkard, and Lovett rounds out that heat in lane number 3. We'll now move into our next heat of the 200 IM, heat number 2 of 2. All 4 lanes once again being utilized. In lane number 1, the Chillicothe swimmer Noah Hickman-Beck. In lane number 2, another Chillicothe Cavalier, Ian Montgomery. 3, Chillicothe once again, Isaac Crawford. And in lane number 4, it'll be McLean's Holden Rayburn. And that'll wrap up the second heat in this third event, the boys 200-yard IM. It was the swimmer in lane number 2, Ian Montgomery, clocking in the fastest time there, 2:23.75. Following him in lane number 1 was Noah Hickman-Beck of Chillicothe. Crawford from Chillicothe at 2:40.56, and Rayburn from McLean at 2:42.33. We now move on to the 50 freestyle. This one is for the sprint swims. Heat number 1 underway. And in this first heat, we have Matthew Lucas of McLean. Lane number 2 will be Isaiah Whiteman of Washington. Carter Liston from Miami Trace in 3, and Everhart from Miami Trace in 4. First heat now concludes, and it was the swimmer in lane number 4, Justin Everhart, clocking in the fastest time in that heat. He's followed by Whiteman in 2, Liston in 3, and then Lucas in 4. Second heat now moves their way into the starting blocks. This second heat, Blake Walker of Washington in lane number 1. It's Evan Fender from Hillsboro in 2. Robert Schneider of Hillsboro will be next to him in 3. And on the outside in 4, another Hillsboro Indian swimmer, Jacob Seaman. And it was a tight one for the top spot there in the 50 free. Right now, edging out 2 other swimmers by just a couple hundredths was lane 1, Thomas Kessler. He clocks in at 25.57. Following him was lane 3, Christian Rossiter of Miami Trace at 25.77, so just 2/10 behind there. Montgomery from Chillicothe was 3rd in that heat, and 4th in the heat was Vincent Holler from Chillicothe. We have now moved our way into the 10-minute break, so we have reached our meet break. We will be back in approximately 10 minutes with more Frontier Athletic Conference action here live from McLean Natatorium as the boys' Frontier Athletic Conference Swimming Championships are well underway. Thanks for joining us. We will be back as soon as the action begins again. And we are back underway here at the Frontier Athletic Conference Boys Swimming Championships. We've now moved on to event number 5 on the evening, the boys 100-yard butterfly. In lane number 1 is Chillicothe's Caleb Hirschler. Number 2 will be Holden Rayburn from McLean. And next to him in lane number 3, Caleb Bowers out of Miami Trace here in this 100-yard butterfly event, heat number 1. Heat number 1 concludes, and it is a swimmer in lane number 2, Holden Rayburn from McLean. The Tiger Shark clocks in at 1:14.06. He will take the top spot in that heat. Caleb Bowers out of Miami Trace finishes second in the heat, and it was Caleb Hirschler from Chillicothe in the third spot. We now move on to heat 2 of 2. And in lane number 1 will be Toby Lovett of Washington. Lane number 2, Ryan Bloom from Chillicothe. Lane 3 will house the Chillicothe swimmer Thomas Kessler. And on the outside in lane number 4 is the Tiger Shark swimmer from McLean, Gunnar Bodie. And heat number 2 concludes here in this 100-yard butterfly event. And in lane number 2, it was Ryan Bloom clocking in at 54:58. So he will best the FAC league meet record that he set from last year. It was previously 55:96, and he takes that down to 54:58. So congratulations to Ryan Bloom there from Chillicothe. And then following him in lane number 3 was Thomas Kessler. In lane number 4, Gunnar Bodie clocks in at 1:10.10. And in 4th was Toby Lovett from Washington. We'll now move over to our next event on the night, the 100 freestyle. And in the 100 freestyle event, it will have 3 heats. In this first heat, we'll use the first 3 lanes. Lane number 1 will be Ryan Fender of Hillsboro. Cooper Swope of Hillsboro will be next to him in 2. And in lane number 3, we have Matthew Lucas of McLean. Heat number 1 wraps up with Cooper Swope in lane 2 clocking in with the top time. Following him, his teammate out in lane number 1 on the near side, Ryan Fender, and Lucas from McLean in the 3rd spot for that heat. We'll now move into heat number 2, and all 4 lanes slated to be used. In lane number 1 on the far side of your screen, Tim Kessler of Chillicothe. Next to him is Blake Walker of Washington in lane number 2. James Beatty takes up the other inside lane from Chillicothe. And in lane number 4 on the near side of your screen, Zach Scales of McLean. And lanes 3, 2, 1 go 1, 2, 3 in heat number 2. Beatty clocks in with the fastest time in lane number 3 at 1:04.67. Walker behind him and Kessler right behind him. And Scales of McLean will round out the 4th spot for the heat. We're now going to move our way into heat number 3 of 3 here in this boys 100-yard freestyle event. Lane number 1 on the far side, Vincent Holler of Chillicothe. Christian Rossiter from Miami Trace will be in lane number 2. Ian Carnes is the other middle lane, lane number 3 from McLean. And in the close lane to you from the camera angle here is Robert Schneider of Hillsboro. We're in heat number 3 of the 100 free here at the FAC Boys Swimming Championships, and they are off. And heat number 3 concludes here in the 100 freestyle, and it was the swimmer in lane number 3, the McLean Tiger Shark, Ian Carnes, clocking in with the fastest time, 58.72, so just under a minute there for Carnes. Second place in the heat was Holler of Chillicothe, and in third for that heat was Rossiter from Miami Trace, followed up by Schneider of Hillsboro. We're going to move our way into our next event of the evening, and that will be the 500 freestyle. So this one, the distance specialist, we have a couple heats here in the 500 freestyle. In this first of 2 heats, it will be Nicholas Alvarez of McLean in lane number 1. Colburn from McLean in lane number 2, Howland of Hillsboro in 3, and in lane number 4 will be Jacob Woods of McLean. And it will be a longer event than what we've seen the last few. This 500-yard freestyle event, more a marathon than a sprint. So we will be going back and forth here in the natatorium. This 25-yard pool will see 20 lengths down and back. While this first heat continues in the 500-yard freestyle, we update you on team scores. Right now, it is the team from Chillicothe in the lead with 228 total points. McLean follows them with 123. Hillsboro in the third spot at 114. Miami Trace with 82 so far on the night, and Washington rounds out the scoring with 35 points. Once again, those are team scores so far through six events. So once again, team scores through 6 events. Chillicothe leads with 228. And our first heat of 2 will conclude in this 500-yard freestyle event. It was the swimmer in lane number 2. That's Max Colburn with the fastest time in that heat. He was followed up by Nathan Alvarez of McLean. And in lane number 3, Howland of Hillsborough comes in 3rd. Rounding out that heat was Jacob Woods of McLean. Have a brief delay in the action here as they take care of something on the pool deck. Nothing too wild, just a little bit of a break in the action as the officials get something cleared up. So we'll have our second heat of the 500 freestyle in just a few moments. And the official prepares to get the second heat into the starting blocks. In this second of 2 heats in the 500 free, it's Isaac Crawford of Chillicothe in lane number 1. Jake Bird from Chillicothe will be next to him in 2, and their teammate Noah Hickman-Beck of Chillicothe in 3. And out in lane 4, or on the near side of your screen, will be Carson Scott of Hillsboro. And the 500 freestyle concludes here from McLean Natatorium. In that event, it was lane number 2 taking the top spot. That was Jake Bird of Chillicothe. Following him was Noah Hickman Beck, his teammate from Chillicothe. Third was Crawford from Chillicothe, and fourth was Carson Scott of Hillsboro in the 500 freestyle. We are preparing ourselves for the next event of the night, which will be the 200 freestyle relay. So we'll get that going in just a moment. We will update team scores as soon as we are able to do so. Right now we do have 7 events concluded, so we'll see if we have updated team scores. And we do. These scores will scroll across the bottom in just a little bit, but I will announce them to you right now at least. So through 7 events, right now Chillicothe is still in the lead with 269 points. In second is the team from McLean with 147. Hillsboro following them with 132. Miami Trace in fourth with 82, and Washington rounds out the scoring with 35. Once again, Chillicothe in the lead with 269 points here at the Frontier Athletic Conference Men's Swimming Championship through 7 events. We now move into event number 8 on the night, and it'll be heat number 1 of the 200 freestyle relay here. 2 heats listed on the event or meet program, And in lane number 1, we have the B team from Hillsboro. In lane number 2, A team from Miami Trace. And in lane number 3 is the B team from McLean. And this first heat of 2 in the 200-yard freestyle relay has concluded. It'll be the team from Miami Trace, their A team, coming in first in that heat with a time of 1:58.15. Greenfield B comes in second, and Hillsboro B comes in third. We'll now go into heat number 2 for this 200 freestyle relay. And this one will include in lane number 1, the far side of your screen, Hillsboro A. Chillicothe A is in lane number 2. McLean A in 3. And Chillicothe B will round things out on the near side of your screen in lane number 4. First legs wrapping up in the center lanes, and now on to leg number 2 here in this 200-yard freestyle relay. And that will conclude our 200 freestyle relay event. And it was the team from Chillicothe in lane number 2 with the victory, 137-33. And that will be your new mark for the FAC championship meet record. They break the previous record from McLean set in 2020. by near 4 seconds. So a fast group in that 200 relay from Chillicothe. Congratulations to them. We now are preparing ourselves for the 100-yard backstroke. And this will be our 9th event on the night. We will update scores shortly once we have the opportunity. In this 100-yard backstroke event, we have 3 swimmers. So one swimmer has bowed out of the race. In lane number 1, we have Jacob Woods of McLean. Lane number 3 is Austin Fillmore from Hillsboro. And in lane number 4, what will be the near side of your screen, Brent Smith out of Hillsboro. And your first heat of the 100 backstroke about to conclude here. It was Austin Fillmore in lane number 3 touching the wall first in this first of 2 heats. He is followed up in lane 4 by Brent Smith on the near side of your screen, and Jacob Woods of McLean clocks in the 3rd spot in that first heat. So we prepare ourselves now for heat number 2 of the 100 backstroke. And in lane number 1, we'll have Tim Kessler from Chillicothe. In the inside lanes, lane 2 will be held down by the Tiger Shark from McLean, Ethan Akins. Next to him in 3 is James Beatty out of Chillicothe, and on the close side of your phone or television is Chillicothe's Brigham McDaniel. So we'll get heat 2 in the pool in just a moment. Once again, now on to heat number 2 in the 100 back. Akins in lane 1 from McLean, Beatty of Chillicothe in 2, Kessler of Chillicothe in 3, and McDaniel of Chillicothe in lane 4 here in the 100 back. And a correction for you, the online version of the meet program listed Akins in lane number 1, and it was actually Akins in lane number 2, and he takes the top spot with a time of 1:11:42. Then in lane number 3 was Beatty. He takes the second spot. Third was Kessler, and fourth, McDaniel. And we will move ourselves into our next event, the 100-yard breaststroke. They are off in this first heat of 3 listed. In the first heat in lane number 1, we have Justin Everhart of Miami Trace. Lane number 2 is Chris Souders from Hillsboro. And the second Panther in this heat is Caleb Bowers. He will be swimming in lane number 3. And the first heat concludes with the swimmer in lane 2, Chris Souders, getting the fastest time at 1:30 8/10. Following him was Everhart from Miami Trace, and then Bowers from Miami Trace. They get the second heat into the blocks, and they are underway here in the 100 breaststroke. Swimmers in this second of 3 heats in lane number 1 is Nicholas Alvarez from McLean. In lane number 2, we have the Washington swimmer, Isaiah Whiteman. He will be next to the swimmer in lane number 3, Evan Fender of Hillsboro. And in lane number 4 is Maddox Myers of Chillicothe. second heat of the 100 breaststroke is now in the books, and it was Whiteman from Washington clocking the fastest time at 1:25.73. He's followed up by Nicholas Alvarez of McLean in second, out in lane number 1. Lane number 3's Evan Fender takes the third spot, and Hendrix Myers in 4th. We now move into our third of 3 heats here in the 100 breaststroke, and in lane number 1 we have Chillicothe's Matthew Remley. Chillicothe's Ian Montgomery will be in lane number 2. McLean's Jackson Crago in 3, and Cameron Burkhardt in lane number 4, the Hillsboro swimmer. And a tight one there in the last couple yards of the 100 breaststroke, but it was Jackson Crago of McLean touching the wall first by just a few hundredths, 1:11.56 his time. In second place was Montgomery from Chillicothe at 1:11.77. Matthew Remley clocks in the third spot, and Cameron Burkhardt rounds out the time in lane number 4, 1:23.47. We're about to get into our final event for the evening, event number 11, and it is the 400-yard freestyle relay. There are 2 heats listed in the event program. Both heats will include 3 teams of swimmers. So we'll get the first heat into the blocks here in just a couple moments. The officials stepping over to the scores table to make sure everything is in order before we get this final event underway. We will update our scoring at the end of the meet when the team champions are announced. Previously, we had the score at Chillicothe with the lead through 7 events. Right now, that is what we see as well right now. I believe through 7 events, Chillicothe with 269, McLean at 147, and Hillsboro with 132. Your top 3 scoring teams. That was through 7. We are about to move into number 11, the 400-yard freestyle relay here at the Boys Frontier Athletic Conference Swimming Championships. We will get that underway as soon as they get heat number 1 into the starting blocks. All right, we are about to get our final event underway here of the night. Event number 11, heat number 1 of 2. The swimmers are in the blocks for leg number 1 of this 400 freestyle relay event. In lane number 1 on the far side is Hillsborough's B team. Next to them in lane number 2, McLean B. And in lane number 3, it will be the A team from Hillsborough. First legs in the pool, and they make their turns off of the first wall. it'll be the team from Hillsboro, their A team, with the fastest time in heat number 1, 4:41.14. The B team from McLean with the second time. And in just a few strokes, we will have Hillsboro B touching the wall in lane number 1, getting their final time in this 400 free relay. And they clock in just over 5:30 for that 400 free. And so it is just about time for our final heat of the night. The fans on the other side of the pool getting excited for this final heat, heat number 2. Last heat, last event of the evening here from McLean Natatorium. It's the boys 400-yard freestyle relay. And in this event, we have, or in this heat of this event, we have 3 teams participating. In lane number 1, Chillicothe B. In lane number 2, Chillicothe A. And in lane number 3, it's McLean A. They are off on the first legs here in the 400 free. Final heat, final event of the night. This final heat of the 400 freestyle relay about to conclude as the last two teams get set to touch the wall here. It was a team from Chillicothe clocking in at 3:34.84, and that is a new league meet record. That breaks the record set by Chillicothe last season in 2021. Correction, 2 seasons ago, 2021. And that team setting the record this year was Chillicothe's Jake Bird, Ian Montgomery, Thomas Kessler, and Ryan Bloom. They have the time of 3:34.84. They're followed up by the McLean team at 4:07.35, and then Chillicothe B in the third spot in that heat. So we are now done with the swimming events for the night. No more events to be contested, but we will have our FAC championship team announced here in just a few moments. We're going to update the scores as they come in. And once we have those scores, we will let you know the final results. All right, final events completed. Final scores have been tabulated. The slide rulers were taken out and put away. And we do have your final scores for tonight. It is the team from Chillicothe, the Cavaliers, with the top scoring mark of the night. 441 points to that team. McLean with 265 will finish in second. Hillsboro nets 254, so a tight race for second and third. Miami Trace with 110 on the evening, and Washington rounds out the scoring with 45 points. And so those results will crown Chillicothe, the Cavaliers, on the boys' side, your FAC boys swimming champions for the year 2023. Congratulations to the Cavaliers. They win both the boys and the girls. The girls took place last evening, and the boys wrapping up this evening. So Chillicothe pulls the double, both boys and girls FAC champions. Congratulations to the Cavs, and congratulations to all of the swimmers that took part here in this league meet. The FAC is well represented with a number of fantastic individual swimmers along with fantastic teams. We wish best of luck to all of our Frontier Athletic Conference teams as they will make their way forward into post-season action. Please check the OHSAA web pages or your own respective schools' athletic pages and web pages for more information about when those particular postseason tournaments will be taking place. But for this evening, it is the Chillicothe Cavaliers as your Frontier Athletic Conference boys champions. Thank you so much for joining us here on the McLean Athletic Department Facebook page and YouTube channel, whichever platform you may have been viewing from. We want to say that it has been a wonderful night here in McLean Natatorium, and it could not have been any more wonderful because you were here right along with us. We're going to sign off for the evening, but before we do, we want to say thank you once again to all of our viewers. And as we sign off, we say good evening and God bless.